Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio, so you know what to do. Get involved in the chat and the comments because we are live. There's a few stories to get through. Obviously, one about Frankie de Jong because we love a good Frankie de Jong story. And when we thought it was all done and dusted in the summer when he didn't come to Manchester United, it looks like it could be back on again. So we'll get into all that. We've also been linked with a goalkeeper, so we're going to talk about that as well. And there's one or two other bits and pieces to get through as well. So make sure you are getting involved in the chat and the comments. And if you've not done already, hit that like button. Give the video a like. Right, should we talk about Diogo Costa? So this is a story here. I've seen this in the Manchester Evening News this morning on their live blog. It says United leading the race for Diogo Costa transfer. This will be music to the ears of many Manchester United fans, it says here. Erik Ten Hag will be in the market for a new goalkeeper next year, and reports suggest they are leading the race to sign Diogo Costa from Porto. The Portuguese youngster made headlines this week when he saved a penalty, kept a clean sheet, and grabbed an assist in Porto's 3-0 win over Bayer Leverkusen. Diario de Noticias claims United are the side leading the race to sign a 23-year-old next year, but it will cost 60 million to trigger his release clause. Now, I don't know a lot about him. I've seen him a couple of times. He looks like a very good goalkeeper. Obviously, at 23 years old, very young for a goalkeeper. We know, well, we assume Manchester United are looking for another goalkeeper. Now, David De Gea does have, I think his contract runs out in the summer, and there is an option to trigger the extension. Now, it's not set in stone that Manchester United are going to do that. We know that David De Gea is on mega money, so if he were to trigger that extension, he would continue, you presume, continue to be one of the highest paid goalkeepers, if not the highest paid goalkeeper of all time. So there's a few sort of question marks there as to whether Manchester United are willing to do that. In terms of other options, we've only got Martin Dubravka and obviously Tom Eaton, so it's not like we've got other goalkeepers who you'd expect to trouble the Manchester United first team. So maybe Diogo Costa could be an option. Now, 60 million euros is quite a lot for a goalkeeper, let's have it right. But how much are United going to spend if we want to bring a goalkeeper in who's going to be first choice for the club? You're probably going to spend around 50, 60 million quid anyway. That's just the way it is now in terms of football transfers, including with goalkeepers. We've seen clubs go out and spend massive amounts of money on goalkeepers because, you know, it is one of the most, if not the most important positions on the pitch. When you're a goalkeeper, you're usually the only goalkeeper, aren't you? So it'll be interesting to see whether Manchester United do pursue Diogo Costa. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think about that. Are you fans of him? Do you think he could do a job for Manchester United? Let's have a look at people, what people are saying in the chat. Tina Telefson Tatoka says, De Gea have big missed in his game. I presume that's sort of talking about the fact that David De Gea, you know, does have issues with his game, which is, you know, fair enough. Scouty says, sign Francis Ozuru just for the vibes. This is the kid. This is a kid from last night, innit? Who had an absolute worldie for Ammonia. It turns out he's a Manchester United fan as well. He was buzzy money after the game. I don't know if you saw his interview after the game where he was proper happy. He didn't seem to mind too much that they'd been beat. I think he was just buzzing because he'd had a bit of a man of the match performance and saved, was it 30 shots or something? I don't know what he saved. He saved a lot, didn't he? It was ridiculous the amount of saves he'd made because United was just absolutely all over Ammonia all game. And it wasn't until Scott McTominay's, what was it, 93rd minute winner that we managed to get a goal. At one point, I just thought this wasn't going to happen. I thought it was going to be one of those games. It certainly looked that way. But yeah, United got there in the end, and thankfully we can all move on from that. What was a very, very frustrating night. We'll keep you posted anyway if anything happens with Diogo Costa. Good goalkeeper. United could be linked with other goalkeepers. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not the only one that United are linked with this summer, regardless of what happens with David De Gea. Even if he signs an extension, it's still only a year. So you think Manchester United could be looking at other players. There's also this question mark, isn't there, with David De Gea in terms of whether he's a modern goalkeeper. With his distribution, with the command of his area, he does seem to be a little bit wanting in certain areas, doesn't he? And I don't think he's going to kick on massively in that respect because he's what? Is he 30, 31 now, David De Gea? He's the type of age where you don't usually see goalkeepers changing their style very often. He's a great shot stopper. Can he be that sort of modern goalkeeper that Erik Ten Hag wants? I'm not so sure he can be. potentially, but we'll have to wait and see. As always, we will keep you updated. Now, should we move on to Joao Felix? Now, this is a story, right? Do you remember this in the summer? United were linked with Felix, and there was talk that we were going to bid for him and we were going to spend all this money on him. It was around the same time as sort of just after, I think, the Adrian Rabiot, Marco Arnautovic stories. Do you remember those ones where it was like United are in for these two and everyone's going, what's going on? And then all of a sudden we would turn our attention to Joao Felix, and it's like, well, how have you gone from going to get Arnautovic to go to get Felix? Arnautovic was around, what, 20 million quid or whatever, and then Felix is around 100 million. It made no sense to me whatsoever. There's a story in the Evening News, and this has come from AS, and it says, this is an odd one, very true. Atletico rejected United's €130 million bid for Joao Felix. AS claim, United made a €130 million bid for Joao Felix in the summer transfer window, but it was rejected by Atletico Madrid. The report adds that the La Liga side considered the Portugal international an important player for the future, and that was the reason why they didn't entertain the approach made by Erik Ten Hag's side. Now, yeah, he's been on the bench, hasn't he, quite a lot, Joao Felix, recently. Very good player. We know what he's capable of. It looks like that's sort of just, isn't going to happen now, but it's just an interesting one that, United did seem to have, according to AS anyway, real interest in him, because at first I thought that was just maybe the Glazers trying to sort of, prove a point or calm the fans down by saying, oh, look, we are going for big players. We're trying to buy Joao Felix for 100 million quid. It's not our fault they won't sell him. But maybe there was a real interest there, certainly according to AS anyway. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think. United could still be in the market for an attacker. You look at the options we've got. We've got Marcus Rashford, who he's probably better on the left in here. You've got Anthony Martial, who's obviously got his injury problems. And you've also got Cristiano Ronaldo, who's 37 years old. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this summer, whether Manchester United do go for someone like Felix or anyone else in the summer. Compost Smurf says the club already told you they are skinned for next summer. The club is saying, or there's been these reports on that because of the money we spent this summer, we're not going to spend big next summer. Still got to get a striker. I can't see how you don't get a striker if you Manchester United this summer. Seriously, you can't rely on an injury-prone Anthony Martial and a 37-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo. If you've got any sort of ambitions whatsoever, for me, you've got to go out and you've got to get an attacker. Mark Johnson says, Jay, your head is extra shiny today. Get in. Thank you. Dan Lisford says, toss a like in for Jay's shiny head. Smiling emoji. There's also a link in the chat there for subscribe. Hit that subscribe. You can see the link there. Hit that subscribe button. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and with your support we can do it. Solo, good to see Solo from United Agenda says, good morning, Jay. Felix is far too expensive. Dan Lisford again says 130 million. That's mad. Santa Notch in the chat says morning. Yeah, it does seem quite excessive, doesn't it? 130 million. He was expensive though when Atletico bought him, so you're going to pay big money for him. Like I said, he hasn't been featuring in every single game this season. I'd be very surprised if we went back in for him. I mean, we might do. You never know with Manchester United, but it just seems a lot of money, doesn't it? I know we've spent big money in the past and we spent big money this season. You look at the money we spent on Anthony, but he's having a bit of a stinker as well this season, Joao Felix. 8 La Liga games, no goals. And like I said, he's been finding himself on the bench of late. I know he's not just an out-and-out goal scorer. He can go on either side, can't he? He's a bit more of just an attacker rather than out-and-out striker. But yeah, I'd be very surprised if Manchester United went in for him. But according to reports we did in the summer, as always, we'll keep you updated if there are any developments on that front. Should we talk about Frenkie De Jong? Because let's have it right. Where would we be without a Frenkie De Jong story? Man United News there says, Man United News, no, not Man United News, that's the name of the video. Barca must sell, hello. It says here, Barca must sell. It's talking about how everything is just chaotic at Barcelona. There's a story here, I think it's in the Mail. This was last night. It says an out-of-control wage bill, De Jong up for sale, and another lever needed after budgeting to reach a quarter-final. This is what happens if Barcelona exit the Champions League early. Now, Barcelona in the Champions League, they've been having a bit of a time of it. The third in their group, behind Bayern a top, Inter a second, Barcelona a third, and Victoria Pilsen are fourth with 0 points, or 0 points. Now, Barca's 3-all they drew, didn't they, in the week with Inter. It's not closed the door on qualifying for the Champions League. Champions League. There's still 2 games left. They can still do it. But they're relying on other results. And it's looking increasingly unlikely that they will qualify for the next round of the Champions League. There's a good chance they're going to end up in the Europa League. And if that happens, then it could be pretty disastrous. It says here in the Mail, the consequences of Barcelona's early exit from the Champions League could be as far-reaching as having to sell several players next summer, with Frenkie De Jong back in the shop window and even out of favour Ferran Torres offered to potential suitors. They only bought him last season, didn't he, from City? Apparently he's already he could be in the shopping list. A lot can happen between now and then at the end of the season, and winning a Europa League and the Liga double, okay, would go some way to make up for the hole in the budget left by exiting Europe's biggest competition. But again, the club are left trying to patch up their broken finances. Goes on to say Barcelona mortgaged its future during the last transfer window in order to spend 132 million on new signings. But that bold economic plan, sounds like some of the government have come up with it. This is a bold economic plan. Hinged on making it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. And if Inter beat Victoria Pilsen in the early kickoff in 2 weeks, Barca will already be eliminated when they take to the pitch to face Bayern Munich at the Nou Camp. Yeah, they've had a bit of a time of it, and it goes on to explain it. It says they had budgeted for at least a quarterfinal place, and failing to make that stage will cost them around 9.3 million quid. That means the club will come up £17 million short on the prize money they had budgeted for, but they thought they were being cautious, banking on only reaching the last 8. Such was the excitement in the summer when they brought in 5 new signings. Goes on to say there was some optimism that they could go all the way this year, earning a further 11 million for the semi-finals, and if they reach the final, either 13.6 million or 17.5 million, depending on whether or not they won it. He also says winning the Europa League will bring in around 13 million, but there are no guarantees they will claim the lesser prize. Barcelona in the summer just were going mad with these levers, weren't they? They were just selling off like future assets. It said here, Barcelona sold off chunks of their organisation last summer so as to pass La Liga's strict financial fair play rules because of the wage bill they had, because of the players they've got, they were having to sort of make more money, weren't they, to cover it. And there was talk of players having to take pay cuts. They obviously looked like they were trying to offload Frenkie De Jong. There was also this story about them owing him 17 million quid, I think, in wages that he deferred during the pandemic, and whether they were going to ask or get him to not get that money, not receive that money, to sort of just, I don't know, what's the right term? Just walk away from it, I suppose. Walk away from that 17 million quid that they were owed. Or maybe get Manchester United to pay it as part of the deal to bring him to Old Trafford. Whatever the reason, it didn't happen. He didn't leave, obviously, the Nou Camp, but he could be available again. Get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think about Frenkie De Jong. Do you think we still need him? Because obviously we've gone out now. We've got Casemiro. We've also got Christian Eriksen, all different types of players. You've got Bruno Fernandes who plays in there. It's got Scott McTominay who's having a good season. Do we need Frenkie De Jong? Going into the summer, he was obviously our main target and we were crying out for him. Now we've brought in some players and other players have found their mojo a little bit. Is De Jong as essential as we thought? We know, obviously, that Ten Hag knows him well. He knows him from his Ajax days. That's obviously wanted him, made him his sort of priority, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. People here chatting about Bellingham. Agbidu King Eric says Bellingham is clearly far more versatile than Frenkie De Jong, but Frenkie De Jong is ready product right now, whereas we don't know how high Bellingham's ceiling is. Peter Parker, not Spider-Man. After what Frenkie De Jong and Barcelona did to us, United still simping for him, ? Alex Austin says Bellingham basically better than Frenkie De Jong, to be honest with you. And it goes on to say, Coin Toss 1 says De Jong is now in talks with Edu at Arsenal. Arsenal could be in for him. Santa Notch says, do we even have the money for Frenkie De Jong right now? I don't think we've got it now. The question is, would we go again in the summer? Have we got money in the summer? There's talk that we've spent that much this summer, that next summer we're going to have to sort of have a little bit of a sort of a smaller transfer window, shall we say. I don't know. I always think that there's money there. We know there's money for dividends and stuff like that. You can always generate money when you're Manchester United, and I think there's still the capabilities from this club to go for someone like Frankie De Jong in the transfer window, sorry, in the summer. Players are going to leave. Ronaldo's obviously going to leave in the summer there. You're going to get massive amounts of money off the wage bill there. There's one or two other players as well that you can look at and go, okay, maybe Manchester United move them on. Likelihood of us getting money for some of them isn't great, but once you get them off the wage bill, that does free up a bit of funds as well. There's also untold amounts of sponsorship deals that the club are always working on. I always feel like there is a way to fund transfers. Yes, you do have to have sort of cut your cloth accordingly at times, and you can't always go out and spend 200, 300 million in a summer. I get that, but I think you can buy at least 2 players in the next summer, and one of them could be Frenkie De Jong. Let's have a look at what people are saying in the comments. Vishal Main says, Bellingham will go to Real Madrid. We should try for De Jong. Listen, out of 2, given the 2, I'd probably prefer Jude Bellingham. I think he's more likely to be an amazing superstar. Frenkie De Jong's great. Bellingham's great. Bellingham's 19. He seems to have that in him when you think he could be one of the best midfielders on the planet one day. De Jong, very, very good player. I wouldn't moan if we signed him. Given the choice, I'd have Bellingham, but we might not have a choice in either. We know United have been after Bellingham, just like we were after De Jong for quite some time. We tried to get him when he was at Birmingham. We brought him to Old Trafford. We introduced him to Eric Cantona. We introduced him to Sir Alex Ferguson. We introduced him to Brian Robson. You know, we pulled out all the stops. He chose to go to Dortmund. Obviously, I don't know the reasons, but you'd think that regular football, the chance to play week in, week out, at a very good club, a very well-run club, one that was in a lot less turmoil than Manchester United were, especially at the time we were signing him. You can understand his thinking, but maybe United could go back in for him in the summer and try and get him again. There's talk of Liverpool looking at Bellingham as well, but who knows what's going to happen with those situations, because Liverpool aren't exactly, you know, enjoying a stable time of it in a minute, are they? They're struggling. There's, you know, you look at it and you'd have thought, oh, Liverpool, he goes there, he's guaranteed Champions League football. He might not be. Liverpool could finish out the top 4 this season. I'm not saying they will, but they could do. They're having a bit of a time of it, and, you know, until their inhalers kick in, they could struggle. Emma Kay says, let's use our own youth instead of buying it. Abinar says, Bellingham is good, but not that good. It's all hype. Lankyman22 says, we should be looking at cheaper, younger options. Garner should have stayed and played as could be a similar player. Hit that like button. There's almost 900 people watching, not even 100 likes. Let's get to 200 likes. Come on, people. Hit that like button. You can see it there. Just hit like. Abhinawa also says, any updates on Sir Jim Takeover? I reckon it'll definitely happen. We had this Sir Jim Ratcliffe story earlier this week. He gave an interview with Jonathan Guthrie from the Financial Times. It was a live one. It was live streamed. He was asked about the Manchester United question, and he said, I don't know if you saw it, but I presume you've heard, but I'll tell you anyway. He said that Joel and Avram are good people, or nice people, sorry. He said that Manchester United isn't for sale. He said, had United been for sale in the summer, they would have had a go at it, but he can't wait around forever. Now, you can read into that what you will. Does that mean the door's definitely shut? Does it mean he's still interested? He spoke about being a Manchester United fan. He spoke about being there in 99 when United won the treble. I think most of us would love to see someone like Jim Ratcliffe come in, because, not just because a billionaire is the answer to all our problems, but he seems to know more about football and care more about the club than Joel and Avram Glazer do. And let's face facts, it's almost at the stage anyway, you just feel practically, not anyone, but practically anyone would be a step up from the Glazer family. But the whole Jim Ratcliffe thing does seem to have died down a little bit, and he didn't quite say the things we were hoping for, did he, during that live interview? But then again, was he ever going to? Was he going to say, yeah, I want Manchester United, but it's not for sale, but I'm going to buy it anyway? DJ Sonny Bain says, why can't we buy Bellingham and Frenkie and Mbappe? Why not? It's a good question, that. We should be able to. Why, you know what I mean? We should be able to go out and buy all them players. Manchester United, for God's sake, get a grip. Andrew Rowland says, Liverpool certain to finish top 4. Are they? We'll see. We'll revisit that comment. Probably will, but I don't think it's a certainty. I really don't. Compost Smurf says, if we see Mertine then melts in Spain again, I'ma flip my lid. He says, yeah, there's been when they were flying over there. Abhinav Verma says, Jim disappointed me. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, innit? We thought we were going to see, you know, a little something maybe, or hoping you see something a little bit more optimistic, but not quite. Anyway, hit that like button. Give us a like. We've still not got to 100 likes, man. That is a disgrace. What is going on? Abhinav Verma's not happy with Jim Ratcliffe. He said he acted like a real Woodward. I like the fact Woodward, that or Woodward. It's like it's become a form of insult. Use it, right? Woodward in. Abinam Verma also says, if we get Frankie de Jong, we will be mint. Yes, we will. Potentially. I still think we need a striker, but it'd be a step in the right direction. Going to wrap it up there. Make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribing to the channel. We'll be back later on with the brew as well. We've also got a video coming out soon, a documentary on the Glazer ownership of Manchester United. So make sure you check that out. It's going to be out over this weekend. I've been Jay. This has been the Paper Talk live from the studio. Thanks for watching.